The Rochester Press Box is brought to you by Salvatore's at the Garage Door on 49 Ridge Road East in Irondequoit. Rochester's Choice winner for Best Pizzeria, featuring Wacky Wing Wednesday, John Ditullio Trivia on Thursday, and the Super Slice. It's as big as your head. Games are always on at the Garage Door, home to the Rochester Press Box. Hello everyone and welcome to the Rochester Press Box here from our new location, Salvatore's Pizzeria at the historic Garage Door on East Ridge Road in Irondequoit. It's a pleasure to be here. We're very pleased about the arrangement. John Ditullio joins us once again, Mike Catalana as usual, and it's a pleasure to welcome Doug Miller in, the captain of the Rochester Lancers. Doug, you got a new coach that's just hired this week. Tell us a little something about the new coach.
Well, Josh Reif was a player from Milwaukee. He played indoor and outdoor, and he's a younger guy. Played 9 or 10 years professionally, but I think he brings a bit of bite about him. Coming from Milwaukee, where they've won so many championships. Keith Dozer's probably one of the best coaches, indoor coaches, in the game, and hopefully he brings that.
Did they sound you out about it? Do you get a say in the matter?
I was involved in the in the decision making, just down to the last couple choices of who would make a better fit for the team. Because I know the players and know what we were lacking last year.
Alrighty. Well, there's an expression in sports: if you're not cheating, you're not trying, and we dealt with this recently. I want to shoot it Doug's way first. There was this Costa Rican soccer player who ran by a guy on the Mexican team in the recent tournament and just fell down, drew a second yellow card and an ejection from the guy that he just walked by. Is there a line where it's proper or improper, especially in soccer, the things you can and cannot do?
I think that's one of those things that's improper, because that had a direct impact on the game, and getting a second yellow card, which wasn't actually a foul. But as I was mentioning, before, if you're playing the game and you're going into the box and Mike happens to off balance me and take away my advantage to go to goal, then I'm at liberty to take that advantage. And I'm not saying blatantly die, but if he's taking my advantage away and I'm one-on-one, that's part of the game.
Aren't you offended when you see something like that, though?
Actually, if you're on the wrong side of it, sometimes yes, but for the most part, it's part of the game, and I see the referee should make sure that they're governing that and making sure that they're going back and looking at the games.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between gamesmanship and cheating.
Yeah.
Right, if that's what you want to say. And in a game, if I'm going for a loose ball in basketball and I know I knock it out, and John's next to me and I point at him.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to point at him, try to get the ref to make the call. I'm going to try to steal the call. I don't think that's cheating. I think that's gamesmanship. I think that's playing smart. cheating is cheating. I mean, breaking the actual rules, like some of the things going on in baseball and all. I think.
Well, look at Joe Girardi wanted to want a piece of Buck Showalter because Bobby Dickerson is stealing signs, which is not illegal, and part of the game. It is part of it. Now, if you're up in the stands or you got a coach upstairs in a box stealing signs, I got an issue. But I mean, stealing signs is what we used to do in 3B or in Legion ball, and it happens in Major League Baseball.
And you know what
every
works
game.
too, and I love something like this. You know what Peyton Manning does? He's got a guy on the other side who knows his calls, knows his signals. He uses it to his advantage. He'll make that call. They'll think it's that play, but it's a dummy call. He's using their supposed knowledge of his calls to beat them with their own game. And I think that's what you do to try to beat that gamesmanship.
I think that's like an American element to this. And I go back to the soccer thing where we like our football players to get up when they're injured, not show a sign of pain. The baseball players rub the dirt on the injuries. You got these soccer players that just flying all over the place.
After the soccer players, right?
No, I think we always want to try and change the way the game is meant to be played. It's 11v11 on a soccer field with boundaries. With a referee and 2 goals.
Hey.
Let's not change it. To where we've done it over the past, having the shootouts at the 35. Going to penalty kicks instead of that, and those things kind of take away from the popularity of the game, especially in the world.
Well, the NBA, they're a bunch of floppers. Yeah. NBA and soccer flop the most.
And one that you especially like, there was one in the baseball that I thought was unconscionable is when Derek Jeter didn't get hit by that pitch. You remember that? Goes for the arm,
he did.
Fakes the I got hit by the pitch. That's a soccer player. That's a soccer player.
Red Sox player would never do that. I don't think they've ever done anything wrong in their 120-year history.
Alrighty, we invite you to stop by Salvatore's at the historic garage door, and on Wednesdays we have the Magic Guy here from 5:30 to 7:30. You don't want to miss that. And of course, John Ditullio has a trivia show here on Thursday.
Every 7, 8 o'clock. We love it leading into the Thursday night game.
Alrighty, we'll be back. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box here from our new location at Salvatore's Pizzeria at the historic garage door. Bill, John, Mike, and Doug. Innovation. We saw the Philadelphia Eagles run, 95 plays in the first half, on pace to set the record for most offensive plays run in an NFL game. Now, Philadelphia Eagles are near and dear to your heart.
Yeah.
What do you make of what they did to the NFL this
Well,
week?
I think one good thing for Chip Kelly is he walked into a team that has guys that could play that system. I mean, Andy Reid played a different system, but he's got the guys with the speed. He's got a wonderful back in McCoy. And it worked in that game because Vic was pretty accurate. He didn't make mistakes. They kept the ball. And the Redskins were pitiful on offense in the first half. In the second half, it flipped around a little bit because the best way to stop that offense is to keep the football, which is what Washington did in the second half. But Chip Kelly does think a little differently than a lot of coaches. Other ones use elements of it. I love innovation. I think it's great. I think it's great other people will catch up. But just because they catch up a little doesn't mean he'll just stop what he's doing. I think he has other things in his mind, too. As an Eagles fan, I was tired watching that first half. I'm telling you, it was really something to see.
It's the most fun I've had watching any football game in a long time. Maybe the huddle's going the way of the dinosaur.
Yeah.
I think what Chip Kelly and the Patriots have done and other teams, they just don't huddle. We saw the K-gun 20 years ago. I think in 5 years, I'd be surprised if we see one NFL team huddling offensively.
That being the case, why when the K-gun was popular and the Buffalo Bills were getting to Super Bowls, why weren't more teams doing it then and continuing to do it? It's been 20 years since we've seen something like this.
I think it comes down to personality. If you have the personnel to be able to do that, you're fitter, you're stronger, you're faster. If you have those types of players that can do it. But again, going into the huddle, I think slows the game down. It's methodical, and I don't want to. On the flip side, I think that's part of TV in this country. To make that game longer, more commercials, all the timeouts, instead of getting in there to play the game.
What would television do if NFL games started running 2.5 hours?
But I will tell you this, it does impact television a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll see less replays and everything. They don't have time to do it. Yeah. I think the other thing is the game has changed so much where there's so many calls at the line of scrimmage to begin with. It used to be pretty much quarterback makes a call in the huddle. I'm going way back. Go to the line. Maybe he'll audible to change a route, and that was about it. This day and age, they're at the line. I mean, look at Manning, look at Brady, Flacco, Aaron Rodgers. All those guys are making a ton of changes at the line of scrimmage already. So the fact they don't have a huddle isn't as big a deal as it used to be.
Can the players survive this offense?
Well, I think so. I think the player's a little bit lighter.
You went over-under on Vic, though.
Well, that's the thing.
3.5.
I think Michael Vick is in the best system he could ever dream of.
Yeah.
If he gets hurt, I can't imagine Nick Foles or Matt Barkley running it
it'll
as
be
high
different,
octane
but I will
with
tell you
Michael
this,
Vick.
it'll be different, but I watched Foles do it, who is the opposite of Vic, big, slower, but he's very accurate. He can keep the chains moving a little bit, too. The thing about that game is the Redskins didn't run that, and RG3 took way more hits than Michael Vick did in that game. RG3 got beaten up in that game, standing in the pocket.
For a lot of the hits.
He didn't really take a lot of hard hits in the game. Honestly, for Vic, and I've seen him play the last few years, he takes a beating in that game.
Yeah.
He said afterward, I could play 4 more quarters. I don't know if he really could, but the guy is in great shape, too.
The first thing I thought of with this whole thing, and you're going to love this, is how come Tim Tebow's not in that
Well,
offense?
No, but I did hear somebody suggest Johnny Manziel next year.
Oh, boy.
He could run that offense.
I tell you one thing, LaShawn McCoy could benefit the most. That guy could. You want to talk about someone get 2,000 yards with all the offensive plays they're going to run, and he stays healthy?
Yeah.
Watch out. Shady McCoy could get 2,000 yards rushing in that offense. It's designed to run.
It is a running offense.
It's a running offense.
Yeah.
To have good personnel. You are watching the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the historic garage door, where on Saturdays you can catch college football and the game is always on. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the historic garage door in Irondequoit. Like it or not, Doug, the United States defeating Mexico in a World Cup qualifier. Can we take this team seriously finally?
I think so. I mean, I don't think the game last night was, their best 25. The first 25 minutes was the best, but they got the job done. And to beat, the rival of Mexico, it's huge. We've qualified for the last 7, World Cups, and only I think 6 or 7 other teams have done that. Wow. So I think, this team, are we going to win the World Cup? hey, anything can happen, but we still have to bring the level up. But I believe we're going to be one to contend with.
We find ourselves a lot of NFL, baseball, the rest of the stuff. Is this the beginning? Do you find yourself getting a little bit whipped up for the soccer team?
Honestly, for Abby and for Hope Solo, and I think for me personally, I get more excited for the women, probably because of Abby and Alex Morgan, who couldn't fall in love with that World Cup team from 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's also in part because, well, we know her, but also because you feel like they're going to win or have a chance to win. And people, let's face it, we love a winner. Everybody loves to win. So if this team, the American men's team, puts a charge in the World Cup, I think people get behind it. Maybe not as much as the women's team, just because they have maybe a little more connection. But I think people will be into it a lot.
Maybe they got a shot this time around. At least get to the quarters? Semis? Is that realistic?
I don't know how realistic it is. I mean, you're still a year away.
Alrighty, like it or not, Johnny, the Buffalo Bills opening loss to the Patriots.
Well, I mean, I don't like losing to New England, but for me, my eyes were on number 3. It's really all I cared about. I want to see how E.J. Manuel. I think it's a good starting spot for him. To me, it was a good beginning for Manuel, who looked like he belonged. I don't think he made any errant throws. He took care of the football. I wish the game plan would have been a little bit more aggressive, but I like from what I saw from E.J. Manuel. He does bring a different vibe to this football team. I like what I've seen from the entire team. For me, this seems to be a different feeling. And it all starts with E.J. Manuel.
You were at the stadium.
Yeah.
What's the temperature in the stadium?
Same thing, and honestly, I think if you're a Bills fan, you get done that game, you go, we didn't really play very well.
Yeah.
I mean, they can play much better than that. Way too many mistakes. The penalties, they're not good enough to overcome all those penalties. I think they pretty much went toe-to-toe with New England. I think the difference in the game, pretty simple. Brady, in the end, is Brady, and he pulled that win out because of what he's able to do, especially late in the game. But they made way too many mistakes. I think that team, and you asked me last week, you think, they think they can win. The coaches thought they were going to win, and they demand a lot out of EJ. They want him to be great, and that's what I like hearing. Be great. It was good, that's great. They want him to be great.
Do you like football? Can a soccer guy appreciate American football?
I think I don't have a favorite team or anything that I support, like the Red Sox or the Bills. I'm a fan of the sports, and I think watching that game, and I don't know if I'm unique in that realm, but I figured New England was going to win.
Yeah.
And especially like 4 minutes left in the game, they go and they throw on second down instead of trying to run the ball and take some time off. They threw a pass and they were 3 and out and gave the ball back to Brady. And I was like, here we go again. And winners, have that way of being successful.
I like what they did. They were anti-Shan Gailey and anti-Dick Duran. They said we're not going to be conservative. We're going to be who we are. We're going to be aggressive. And I like the fact that they were aggressive with 5 minutes to go.
I said to you before, I think all coaches should wear wristbands that say WWBD. What would Belichick do?
Yeah.
Not to be, and he would go for points with 5 minutes left in the game. He's not going to sit back, even up by 1. And that's what I liked hearing. They didn't execute. You got to get first downs. You got to make plays. They didn't do it, and that's why they lost. And that's why they gave the ball up. 3 and out hurt them more than running a hurry up.
What do you see with the Carolina game coming up?
Well, Carolina played very well defensively last week against Seattle. The Bills can't walk out on the field and expect, they can hope to or want to, but they're not good enough yet.
Not yet.
I think coming home, I think that should give them a little bit of confidence staying at home this week. I like them to win the game, but I think it's lower scoring and I think it's close this week.
All right, like it or not, Michael, and Ndamukong Suh getting fined $100,000 for
I'm
an
tired of
illegal
the
block.
fines with him. Sue needs to be suspended, and other players have done similar things before, but there's been so many. Let's be honest, he acts like a disrespectful jerk on the field half the time, and I do believe he tries to hurt other players. And I see these guys after a game, everybody's hugging and stay healthy, and they say to each other on the other team, well, why don't you act on that a little bit? It's a tough enough game as it is. Don't be out there trying to hurt guys, and I want to see him get suspended. I think he should have gotten 2 or 3 games.
It was funny. He was voted captain. Did you read this? He was voted captain, and he claims we cut down on silly mistakes. No stupid penalties, right? And then he goes down and he tries to take out, John Sullivan, almost ended his career. I thought Clay Matthews, as dirty as the play of Sue, but doesn't have the reputation of Ndamukong Suh. I thought they hit on out of bounds on Colin Kaepernick was as dirty, if not more so, than Ndamukong Suh's hit.
Is it fair, when you consider past record, repeat
absolutely.
offending?
Yeah. Absolutely. Don't you think? I mean, there's a point where these guys do it too much.
I think the only way you're going to hurt them is to take them off the field. I mean, every player wants to be out in the field. Suspend them.
All right, you're watching the Rochester Press Box here for Salvatore's Pizzeria at the historic garage door at 149 East Ridge Road. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the historic garage door in Irondequoit. Unfinished business. John, start us off.
Well, earlier this week, my radio show, I spent an hour, which I would love to get back, defending Tom Brady. I had to defend how great Tom Brady is. Really? I mean, how dumb or how stupid you got to be to call my show and rip Tom Brady? What has he done lately, John? Has won the Super Bowl in 9 years. I don't know. He's been to 5 Super Bowls. He has 17 playoff wins. That's the most of any quarterback. Along with John Elway, he's the only other guy to get to 5 Super Bowls. Well, what would Tom Brady be without Bill Belichick? I don't know. What would Bill Belichick be without Tom Brady? Do I have to remind you that he was a lousy head coach in Cleveland for 5 miserable years until he kind of stumbled upon Tom Brady? And in 2000, New England won 5 games with Drew Bledsoe. Oh, Bledsoe gets hurt, insert Tom Brady, and voila, they won the Super Bowl. People rip him for the no-tuck rule, not his fault. Bill Belichick and Spygate. He is one of, if not the greatest quarterback we ever saw. In last Sunday against Buffalo in the final drive, he only completed all 7 of his passes to set up the game-winning field goal. And by the way, he's 21-2 all-time against the Bills. He is the greatest quarterback.
Final minute of the game, you can take Favre or Brady. Who are you taking?
Well,
I got him.
Wait, regular season or playoffs?
Playoffs.
Well, you got to take Brady. You got to take Tom Brady.
And now it's an hour and 1 minute that you can't get back.
The Favre's got 13 playoff wins. It depends. But no, Tom Brady, man, I found myself defending. You want to rip Favre, that's fine. I don't see how you can rip Tom Brady.
That's crazy.
Maybe people are just, he's good looking and he happens to be married to a supermodel.
You're ready. Doug, find someone for us to rip here.
Well, in the fall, in the season of fall sports and in youth sports, because that's where I'm directly in. I think the kids today need to figure out, try and play at the proper level. And I had a coach once tell me to go out there and play my last game as if it was going to be my last game. And if you do that, you'll play with a different passion. And if you want to play at the next level, go out there every day and think it's the last time you'll ever touch the ball, throw the ball, hit the ball, whatever it may be. And you'll reach the levels that you're supposed to.
You know, there were 2 things.
Nice.
I remember Joe DiMaggio said something similar to that. He did when they asked him about playing baseball. He says, I go out there and give my best every day because you never know who's seeing me for the first time. And the other thing is, when you talk about playing to a level, it was advice that I used to give kids, that would listen to me when there weren't that many. And it says, if you find yourself that you're the best person on the team you're playing for the wrong team. You should be challenging yourself at a different level.
Absolutely. I think that's part of challenging yourself and wanting to be successful.
Cool, Doug. Mike?
We talk a lot about the NFL and injuries and the rules and all the things that change. And there's no doubt the NFL is a different game now than what it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. They've taken a lot of the hits out of there. I agree with all that. I think the old players, when they look back, they laugh at some of the things that are called penalties. But when I hear guys say, put flags on them, it's a baby game, and this and the other, let me tell you something. I stand down their sidelines in the preseason and watch what goes on in NFL games. Say all you want, say it's different, say it's not as tough as it used to be, say whatever. But this is not a baby's game. This is not a flag football game. This is a tough game played by tough men, and you got to have a lot of guts to be out there. It's not what Ray Nitschke and Dick Butkus and those guys did, or even Brian Dawkins and that type of player a few years ago, but it is a tough game. It is a hard game, and guys get hurt every week. That's why the NFL changes the rules. They need guys to last 16 games plus the playoffs. It's still a fun game. It's not what it used to be. But they ain't putting flags on those guys. It's a tough football game.
I say even now, sometimes I think of it's almost like I'm a little bit ashamed of myself for enjoying football as much as I do because it's gladiators, and these guys are giving up their life for our enjoyment sometimes. It gets down to that.
Take a look at some of the retired players walking around, even from recent years. Legs, knees, arms, plus the head injuries. It's a tough game.
Yeah, good job, Mike. I remember going home from Frontier Field several times over the past few years, just angry at what I saw out there. I was angry at the result of the baseball game, certainly, but it was the effort and the seemingly lack of caring about all that went on in the field with the Rochester Red Wings. And then 2 years ago, they hired Gene Glenn, and the whole culture of baseball in Rochester changed. I was there the season when the Syracuse Chiefs scored 6 runs in the top of the 10th inning against Rochester. Rochester comes back, gets 6 in the bottom, and wins it in the 11th on a grand slam by Jeff Clement. Hit that. And I was there the last day of the season when the Rochester Red Wings needed to win. They get 9 in the first inning, and then scoreboard watches. Norfolk loses to Durham, and Rochester's in the playoffs for the first time in years. There's a lot of people that go out to the baseball games in Rochester have always said, you know what, the baseball doesn't matter. Well, to a lot of us, the baseball really does matter. This is the Rochester Press Box from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the garage door, the historic garage door. We invite you to come down here. We record the show at 12:30 on Wednesday afternoons, and of course, you have lunch with us, and you can check out John does a trivia show here on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. Guys, John, Mike,
Really?
Doug, it was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.